Okay, this is a reaction video. This is from Mark Goldbridge. That's football. This is called now. This is called What a Joke. Now, unlike the last one that I did of him, I'd seen that one before. This is one I have not seen before. I do not know what he's talking about. Boring Prem. Let's see what he has to say.
Hi everybody and welcome to That's Football. Let it not be said that we're not just about the top six, we're about all of the Premier League. And with Burnley and, let's be honest, Luton now relegated, all three.
Now, to be fair, Luton is not, technically speaking, relegated yet. But what has to happen is they need to have a 6-goal. They need to win by 6 goals, and I think have Nottingham Forest lose by 6 goals. Probably not going to happen, but yeah. I think what he's talking about is Sheffield United, Burnley, and Luton, the 3 teams from the Championship from last season that got promoted for this season, are all going back down.
Promoted teams, as you can see, are going down, and that is with points deductions for Nottingham Forest and also Everton. So look, just look at how far the gap is between Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United, and look, I can't remember how many points Forest have been deducted, but maybe Forest did deserve to go down, but apart from the fact that there was 3 teams worse than them. But 5th bottom, Brentford, 39 points. Everton obviously had points deduction. Fulham, 44 points. What is to be learnt here, and is this true? Is the Premier League boring? I said that with a lot of emphasis, but it is a joke, isn't it? It is a joke. We've pretty much known. I mean, Luton sort of kicked and screamed a little bit over the weeks, but they were always going down, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, Luton, Burnley, and Sheffield United. Look, Sheffield United was always going to go down. Okay, Luton did have some interesting moments. Burnley had some interesting moments, but really they just were not good enough at all. And as bad as Nottingham Forest was, it really just these 3 teams have been absolutely poor. And but you know.
These 3 teams we predicted at Christmas would go down, and they have gone down. And like with Man City with the league, all right, it's not over yet, but we predicted Man City would win the league at the start of the season, most of us. It has become really, really predictable. And how did the Premier League solve this problem? Because you look at the gap in the relegation area, and that's what I want to focus on here. We can talk about officiating, we can talk about the extra minutes, but the Championship is the best league in England. I think it's a more interesting league than the Premier League at the moment.
Well, yeah, the Championship is a fantastic league when you think about it, and it is exciting. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, if you finish in the top 6, the top 2 are going to go up. 3, 4, 5, and 6 are going to play the playoffs. It's really, really exciting. But once they get to the Premier League, okay, it's a whole different kettle of fish. It is absolutely amazing how different it is to play in the Premier League.
The moment. All right, the quality's not, but the interest in the Championship is better. It's a more competitive league. But what is going wrong with the Premier League? And I think what's going wrong with the Premier League in relation to relegation is its strength is its weakness. The money has been distributed around, and when you look at those teams in the bottom half, Fulham, 44 points, nearly 20 points ahead of Luton, who are 3rd bottom. They've got the likes of Palhinha playing for them. They've got good players playing for them. Crystal Palace have got the likes of Eze and Elise. And then you've got teams like, Everton are a good side. Brentford, Ivan Toney. They're really good, established Premier League sides. Some of them have got internationals in it. But this is the strength of the Premier League. The money is distributed to a...
I mean, Nottingham Forest has probably one of the best U.S. players on loan from Dortmund, and he can't even get onto the pitch. Whenever he plays for the United States, he looks like a real solid player. To talk about Giovanni Reina, and he can't even get on the pitch for Nottingham Forest. Now, I don't understand why he can't play for Nottingham Forest, why he doesn't start on a regular basis, but it's amazing to look at the quality that's on Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Everton, Fulham, Wolves. I mean, look. I mean, it's just the haves and the have-nots.
a point where the Brentfords and the Wolves and the Crystal Palaces can go and compete against the Atletico Madrids, the Lyons, the Juventuses. You know, there's that much money in the Premier League that it's not just focused around the top 4 or 5 or 6 anymore. You actually can, as a Fulham, compete wages-wise and transfer budget-wise with decent teams in La Liga, in the Bundesliga as well. So the Premier League has become very, very strong, which makes it very difficult for a championship side. I mean, I watched Newcastle play Sunderland in the FA Cup in January at Sunderland, and I thought this would be a close game.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It was Newcastle just absolutely dominated Sunderland in that game. I think it was like 4 or 5 to 1, something like that. Maybe 4 or 5. No, I forget exactly what it was. But Sunderland was absolutely. You're talking about a time where Derby. I mean, you're talking about two clubs that are within close proximity. You also had it was a Derby, and it just was apples and oranges. It was just completely dominating performance by Newcastle.
Really big rivalry. The crowd certainly gave it, but you watched the game and you went, bloody hell, it's like night and day, the gap between these two teams. Even the joy and, atmosphere.
I mean, look, when it took Fulham 3 times before they actually stayed in the Premier League. They would go up and they go back down. They would try to spend and they wouldn't spend, and they still went down. They finally found that mix to get it in to where they could stay up in the Premier League. But Sheffield United, they weren't going to spend any money. Luton, they weren't going to spend any money. Barnsley, they weren't going to spend any money. It just is what it is. And look, Burnley's probably going to win the championship next year and come back up.
Giant killing whatever of the FA Cup couldn't level it up. I think we saw it with West Brom and Wolves as well. All right, Coventry gave Man United a good game. There's always exceptions to the rule, but the gap between the Championship and the Premier League is getting bigger and bigger.
Well, let's be honest. Manchester United players have quit on Erik ten Hag. That's what happened there. Okay, there's no other way to put it. They have quit on Erik ten Hag.
Bigger, and when you look at Luton coming up, it was a fairy tale, but they're straight back down. And when you look at Burnley coming up, they dominated the Championship with their style of football, but it doesn't work in the Premier League because they haven't got the quality. Burnley still played good football. I've seen them a few times, but they haven't got any.
Yeah, they played good football, but look, they played good football today against Tottenham and still got beat 2-1.
Anybody to put the ball in the back of the net. And Sheffield United, well, the less they said, the better. But what are they supposed to do? And you look at Leicester and Ipswich and maybe Southampton or Leeds or whoever coming up. And whoever comes up in the playoffs, I think, are going to have a real battle to stay up. I think Ipswich are a better Luton and everyone will root for them, but it'll be difficult for them. Leicester went down last year, coming back. The parachute payments can be useful, but not all the time. We've seen that with Burnley. So I think that, straight away now, the season's not even over. Man City are going to win the league, and Leicester, Ipswich, and if I said to you now 3 teams that are going to go down, you'd have to say the newly promoted teams, because who from them are going down?
Well, I might, Nottingham Forest might go down next year, but that's probably the only team from the Premier League that I could see possibly going down next year. Okay, other than the 3 promoted teams. Now Leicester may stay up. Ipswich, I don't think they're going to stay up. Leeds, Southampton, well, we'll see.
And that's what you've got to look at. Who is going to go down instead of Leicester, Ipswich, and whoever comes up in the playoffs? You could look at Forest because they're there, but they're still a good team who pay good wages and have been in the Premier League now for 2 or 3 years. So the longer you stay in, people might say Brentford, but the longer these teams stay in, the more they can look to Europe and bring good players in for reasonable prices. All right, Brentford are going to lose Ivan Toney, but they've still got a good squad. They can still go.
And they're probably going to get £100 million for him as well. So they're going to have enough money to buy some solid players to keep themselves up.
And get good players. And, same for Everton, same for Fulham. It's hard to put a team in the bottom 3. And I'm not saying Leicester aren't going to do well or Ipswich aren't going to do well, but it's really hard. And that's my point. I'm not saying that Leicester, Ipswich and whoever are going down because they're crap. I'm saying they're going down because even if they come up and do quite well, the gap's too big. At times, this season, Luton have done quite well.
Luton almost beat Arsenal. Okay, Luton almost beat Arsenal. They were actually up 3-2. And it wasn't until Kai Havertz scored in the 63rd minute, I think, made it 3-3. and then a last-second goal by Declan Rice. You look at that. They 1 point, make it 27 points. Maybe if they'd hold on to 3 points, they'd be tied with Nottingham Forest right now. The only thing which would differentiate them would be goal differential. But yeah, Luton has played some excellent football at times.
They have. There's no two ways about it. At times they have, but they can't consistently do 39 points for Brentford. Luton did quite well, but to be where Brentford are, they need another 14 points. It's a lot of points, that is. What would I do if I was coming up?
That's 4 wins.
Look, unfortunately, I don't want to whisper it, so I'll shout it. If you're promoted and you go straight back down, financially, as long as you don't spend much, it doesn't really do you any harm. Parachute payments for Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton, they'll go from being whipping boys to the dominant force in the Championship because they've got so much money. It's true. You can be a bit of a yo-yo club and be absolutely fine. As a fan of those clubs, do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy the Championship more than the Premier League? It's a difficult one. What would I do if I was Leicester? First and foremost, if you want to have any chance of staying in this league, go and get a striker. We've seen it with Burnley, we've seen it with Sheffield United, we've seen it with Luton. They don't score enough goals. Look at what Brentford did with Ivan Toney. From the day one, they came in and they had someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. It makes a massive difference. But
again, look, Arsenal probably would not be in the shape that they're in, which is pretty darn good, to be fair, if they had a striker. Okay, they score goals by committee. That's fantastic. But a striker is absolutely necessity. Somebody who can actually put the ball in the back of the net on a regular basis.
There is a problem. There's a bigger problem as well. Get in the chat. What are your thoughts on the Premier League? Man City haven't won the league yet. Technically, Luton haven't been relegated yet because Forest could lose to Chelsea and then it's a 3-point gap. But look at the goal difference. Luton are done. They'd have to win about 8-0 or something and hope that Forest lose 4-0 to Burnley, which is not going to happen. So they're going down. Man City haven't won the title yet, but it could be 4 in a row. It could be 6 out of 7. 3 up, 3 down in the relegation. Yeah, we've got problems with officiating. Yeah, we've got problems with injury crises. Yeah, we've got problems in Europe. There's a multitude of problems in the Premier League, and I'll list them off. Man City are too good. The 3 promoted teams aren't good enough. We're playing too many minutes, which is...
Well, hold on. Man City is going to is probably going to win the Premier League, assuming they beat Tottenham on Tuesday. If they beat Tottenham on Tuesday, they're going to win their last game at home, and they're going to win their title by 1 point. So Manchester City is not too good, but they are, because Arsenal is, Arsenal, look, if you look at the 3 teams, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City, and all 3 of them were to play each other round robin, 3 points win, 1 point draw, Arsenal has 8 points. They beat Liverpool at home, they beat Man City at home, they drew with those 2 on the road, and that would be 8 points. Manchester City and Liverpool would have 2 points with the 2 draws that they have. So, Manchester City is not necessarily too good. Okay, you'd say that after 4 wins in the Premier League, 4 wins in a row of the Premier League, but they haven't won it yet. That's important. But yeah, Arsenal is catching up, which is good. But let's say if they don't win it this year, they're also a young team too. It'll be very interesting to see what happens.
He's getting too many injuries. That's 3 problems. The officiating is absolutely abysmal.
I don't agree with that. I think the officiating is decent, but it's not abysmal. Okay, look, I understand where he's coming from. I understand what he's looking at, but I think the officiating is not as good as it needs to be, but not as bad as he says it is.
Abysmal, and we're doing crap in Europe. That's 5 major problems for the Premier League. But overarching that is, and I hope they don't do this, I would be trying to solve those 5 problems. I would be having crisis meetings if I was the Premier League saying, if Man City win it again, we're becoming the French League, like PSG. If 3 up go down, straight back down, we're basically becoming a...
Okay, the first one, if Manchester City wins, I want to look at how Arsenal's doing, what Liverpool's doing. what Aston Villa's doing, what Tottenham's doing, what Manchester United's doing, what Chelsea's doing, and what Newcastle's doing. That's what I want to look at, okay? Because look, it's not Manchester City's fault that they're winning four Premier League titles in a row, okay? They've earned that, okay? They have earned that. So I'm not gonna sit there and worry about that too much. That's that's something that they've earned. As far as 3 up and 3 down, that it is what it is. There's nothing you can really do about that. Okay.
Super League, because teams can't. There's no competitiveness at the bottom of the league. We've got an injury crisis that is exclusive to our league because we play more minutes than everybody else. We've got an officiating crisis.
Well, the injuries that happens to every team. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you play too many times. Maybe maybe you need a winter break, a solid winter break, not like they had this past season, but that's possible. Like I said, I don't agree with him on the officiating. I don't think the officiating is as bad as he thinks it is.
Which is exclusive to our league because we're shit, and on top of that, we're also not very good in Europe, which doesn't betray this brand.
Again, he once did a thing about the top 5 Premier League teams in the history, and he put Arsenal's Invincibles at number 4 because they didn't do well in Europe, because they lost, I think, in the quarterfinals to Chelsea. Okay, look, if you're talking about the Premier League, then talk about the Premier League. If you want to talk about Europe, talk about Europe. Okay, look, Europe goes in cycles. Okay, just because Arsenal only lost by 1 goal to Bayern Munich, and Chelsea and Manchester City lost on penalties to Real Madrid. That's hardly a crisis, in my opinion.
Premier League very well. So I'd be trying to solve all those problems. But of course, overarching all of that, they'll be going record fee, record TV deal, and can I add point 6 in as well? It's 2024, and we have a blackout of games at 3 o'clock in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, that needs to go away, and I don't have to worry about that. I can see any game I want. I'm in the United States, and I can see any game I want, whether it's on Peacock, whether it's on NBC, whether it's on USA Network. I can watch whatever game I want whenever I want to see it. There are no blackouts for any games for me. Why isn't that why isn't that true in England? Okay, that makes no sense at all to me.
Well, which I think has to be added in there. So, yeah, there's a horrific amount of problems with the Premier League, and they can't just sweep it under the carpet anymore. Yes, VAR and the officiating has been front and centre for a long time, but we've got a problem. We've got an identity crisis, and it's not all about how good Man City are. If you took Man City out of this league, yeah, it would be more interesting at the top, but we'd still have that problem at the bottom. How do we solve that problem? Does anybody want to solve that problem? How do you get more Ipswichers coming up straight from promotion from League One and then staying in the Premier League? There used to be a time where you'd get a team come up and you'd go, they're probably going to go straight back down, but those two will probably stay up. We have had seasons where people have stayed up. Fulham came up and did it. Nottingham Forest have done it. Brentford have done it. But I think you can't look at the past anymore and go, yeah, they've done it. I think next season, I'm already worried that the same team's going to win the league and the same team are going to go down. It's a problem. Will they solve it? How would you solve it? Do you think it's a...
Well, again, like I said, as far as the teams coming up from the bottom, that's up to them. They have to figure out a way to solve the Premier League. Other than that, you don't have promotion and relegation. You don't have you don't worry about it. You just say, okay, these teams, you're in the Premier League, you're there for good, and whether you finish in the bottom 3 or the top 3, you're going to be in the Premier League next year, and do it that way, the way they do in the United States. Okay, or you leave it up to them. Okay, again, Manchester City's job is to win the title every year. That's their job. That's what they do. Okay, that's what their goal is. Okay, and that's just the way it is. And whether it's look, Bayern Munich won the Bundesliga for 11 straight years, not this year. What happened? Bayer Leverkusen won it. Why did Bayer Leverkusen win it? They went out and got a manager who knew what the hell he was doing. That's what happened.
The problem. Get your comments in below. I'll speak to you tomorrow. Thanks everyone for watching. Arsenal, Man United tomorrow. Could be title over. Could be all about Spurs on Tuesday, who won again. Spurs winning could be putting pressure on Villa. for that 4th place, which is probably the only... That's all we've got. That's actually all we've got, isn't it, at the moment? The race for 6th and 5th and 4th. Well, it's better than nothing. Take care, everyone. I'll speak...
Yeah, that's true. But look, you still have a title race. If Manchester United somehow beats Arsenal tomorrow, then the title's over and Manchester City's going to win it. If Arsenal wins or draws, if Arsenal loses or draws, then that's what it's going to be. Manchester City's going to win the title, whether they lose at Spurs or not. But look, Manchester United, they're a whole story, they're a whole video unto themselves. But okay, we'll see what happens. Okay, this is What a Joke. This is Mark Goldbridge. Mark Goldbridge, That's Football. Please click like, share, and subscribe for him. Please click like, share, and subscribe for me. Like, share, and subscribe for me. Please have a good rest of your day. Thanks for being part of the thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.